Hello everyone, welcome to the show. Thank you so much again for joining me. As always, I sure appreciate you all. Now today, Spirit wanted me to channel again. And I asked him, is this becoming a normal thing? And they're like, we're rolling with a new flow. And so you have the choice to join us and or not, essentially. And I said, okay, I'm in, and kind of jumped on the spirit boat of flow. And so the flow today is for me to channel something for all of you. And so for those of you that have been with me long enough, you'll know I'm just going to pause for a moment and tune in. It is the three guides of the light. That's who came forward. So I'm just going to tune in, shift into the energy, and bring through their message. So that's just going to take me a minute here of silence. So just hold on one moment. We are the three guides of the light, and we are grateful to be able to come through and communicate with you all. One thing we wish to bring through for you right now is for you to contemplate your perspective. This is something that has been talked about many times, but it is very crucial at this time to consider your perspective. For it is your perspective that is creating your reality right now. Every word that you speak creates your reality. So when you speak negative words with yourself, to yourself, about yourself, even in humor, when that humor has a tinge, an undercurrent of energy that is negative toward yourself, it creates that within your reality. Your words have more power than you realize. You have the ability to use your words to help lift you up, even for yourself. Your words have value. Your words have impact. Your words can create a greater reality for yourself, which then has ripples into the reality of those around you. Notice the words that you are speaking to yourself. What were the words you spoke this morning? Can you recall, were those words positive, self-affirming, and compassionate to yourself? Or were they laced with judgment and shame or guilt? There are many humans on the planet that struggle with the concept of shame. Sometimes it is guilt. Sometimes it is embarrassment, remorse. Yet, those are not enjoyable energies to be in. However, many humans find themselves swimming in those pools more than the pools of joy, peace, contentment, and compassion. The lower frequency of those other words pulls your energy down, and those lower frequencies are easier to sit in. They take less work. However, the work that you put into holding yourself in a higher frequency of joy, peace, contentment, and compassion eventually becomes your baseline. It becomes your benchmark. Your conscious choice in the words that you speak to yourself have the greatest impact on which pool you swim in. We wish to encourage you to swim in the pool of joy, swim in the pool of happiness and peace, releasing the energies of shame and guilt. For those in the higher realms do not shame even the most cruel of humans. There is always understanding. We may observe things from our reality that we do not agree with. However, our understanding comes from understanding the perspective which brought that person to make that choice. Knowing that conscious choice is such a significant thing on your planet, use it. Use your will to create the energy you wish to live in, to then create the reality you wish to live in. For your reality begins from your perspective. Carry that as a sacred knowledge. Let no other alter your perspective if yours resides within your heart space and remains true for you. Observe your world around you, receive information, process it, and apply it in the ways that resonates for you, knowing that your perspective can change at any given point. Your perspective can shift. It can shift drastically, but it can shift in the resonance of truth as your truth shifts, as you continue to awaken and open your heart. Okay, so their energy dropped off rather quickly. And it was interesting because it was there's usually two slightly different energies within the three guides of the light that will come through when I channel. But this was a third, and this one has come through before, but again, they are a collective group. But sometimes, I'm trying to explain this in human terms. So in human terms, in our reality terms, they try to individualize themselves so I can recognize a difference, although they are a collective. They're like a conglomerate rock where you have all those different rocks squished in together to form one rock, but you can clearly see the different rocks squished together. That's kind of a way I could explain the three guides of the light. But this was a newer, gentler, kind of curvilinear, compassionate, softer energy coming through about the perspective, which was very neat. And I really am getting that the reason that energy was brought through, or that beingness of it was brought through, was so that we can feel that energy of compassion to the message that was being shared, to have that compassionate heart for yourself and really consider your perspective, because it is so very true how much our perspectives dictate our reality. And with the energies that are at play right now and the way in which we have different timelines that are kind of merging, and at the same time there are other ones that are sort of peeling away from each other. And one way I could explain that peeling away, and again I'm simplifying something to be able to explain it. If we take only two timelines and we're peeling them away, it's kind of like, when you have those certain kind of headphones that you have the two earbuds and they're individual wires, but then they connect into this kind of connected wire at the bottom, but you can pull them apart and peel it apart. So essentially that peeling is what's happening between the consciousness of 3D and the consciousness of 5D. Now, there are still a lot of layers within that, and there's still a lot of bonds that hold the two side by side, so they're running parallel, but they are splitting to a point in which they will split fully, and there will be different levels of consciousness completely separate from each other on this planet. Now, to further explain that, I have to go down a big rabbit hole, which I'm not going to do today. However, the reason why I'm bringing that up is the blend between the two timelines right now, or the bonds to be able to move between those two timelines, to be able to see between those two perspectives, a very linear 3D perspective and a curvilinear 5D perspective, they're very close together. And so the whole reason that the guides are bringing this up is because sometimes we may not realize we kind of slipped into a 3D perspective and we kind of get caught there, and then that starts to create more of our reality, whereas we can consciously choose to slip into the 5D perspective and consciously create a reality from there. Now, some people will say 5D is better than 3D. To be honest, I think it's really choices. It's choices. There can be beautiful choices made in 3D, just as there can be beautiful choices made in 5D. However, it's choices. And as we maneuver this 3D reality right now, because we have 3D dense bodies in this reality of known physics, we still have the opportunity, though, to think and bring in a consciousness from a 5D perspective, a higher awakened, open-minded, compassion-based consciousness. And as we bring in that 5D consciousness into these 3D bodies in this reality, we then start to change the frequency of our bodies and raise them up eventually into fifth dimensional bodies, which are more resistant to illnesses, for example, or breaking down or aging or anything like that. So they all kind of work together, and we can either look at it in a very complex way or a very simplistic way, which is simplistic is what I try to bring through for ease of understanding. But your perspective dictates that reality. And an example of that is this. I'm so glad my guides just showed me this. An example is Some people, for example, and I know this doesn't happen to everyone, so I'm using this as just a way to explain. You know those times where someone is diagnosed with a certain kind of illness and there isn't much of a cure, much more doctors can do, and the person decides to really take a significant spiritual practice. Joe Dispenza is a great example of this, and work within that quantum field, work within that 5D realm at minimum to change the frequency of their body. And when that happens, it allows the body the ability to heal. It allows the body this ability to move, rebalance, reharmonize in the ways it needs to then promote an energy of healing, because the body is designed to want to maintain homeostasis, balance. And that homeostasis is prime conditions for healing and regeneration. And so when we allow that energy from the energy of the mind and the spirit to permeate the body, to bring it back into balance, it has an amazing ability to heal. But there are a lot of things in 3D reality that can distract us from that. Does this mean that I think all 3D methodologies are garbage? Absolutely not. I myself am very grateful for certain medical interventions that I could not make happen on my own. And whether that was my own lack of ascension at the time or what, I have no idea, but it was my journey. But I'm very, very grateful for Eastern medicines, Western medicines. But in addition to that, there is also the ability to heal from the spirit perspective. And so that's that kind of 5D perspective that I'm talking about, using the example of healing. So again, when we consider that ability, that is all based on the mind's perspective of, is something possible or is it not possible? If we don't give something the potential of possibility, then it will never be created. And so what you choose to consider as your reality, as your truth, has a huge impact on how you move forward in your journey and how these splits between 3D and 5D really do happen. So bringing it back down to something really simple, you choosing your reality, you choosing your thoughts, your moods, your, what else could I say? Your energetic nature has a big impact. Yeah, and Spirit's saying this goes deeper than we realize, but in a very simplistic way, meaning that it permeates so many layers of our beings. So one thought, okay, that's neat. They're showing me, you know, when you see like on cruise ships, when you see that tower of champagne glasses, you know, those kind of wider set champagne glasses, you see that tower, it's like a pyramid kind of, and at the top is one glass. Spirit is showing me how when you pour champagne or any liquid and it goes down every layer, when you make one thought change on a surface level, it trickles down to the very bottom layers. The very deepest layers of your being are impacted by this simple thought. And so then if we go back to a video I shared earlier on how to tell when your frequency is rising, it's a really neat thing, because that simple changing perspective of, if someone cuts you off and you're thinking to yourself like, you know what? Instead of being angry, I recognize that that person is probably in a rush somewhere, and maybe their spouse is about to give birth and they're running late. Maybe they were stuck in traffic and they're waiting to pick up their 5-year-old from school, and they know that it's their first day and they're going to be so stressed if they're not there waiting. We don't know the person's story, but when we can have one thought in the day of, I bless that person, I wish them well, and I hope they get wherever they're going safely. I wish they wouldn't speed, but I'm going to send them extra goodness that they can get to where they're going safely. That one thought trickles down to the deepest layers of our being and begins to change the frequency, thus changing our perspective. And Spirit is showing me that they work both ways. So once it hits those deepest layers, that starts to rise in a different frequency back up through the layers. And then when we put in more good thoughts that trickle down to those deepest layers again, then those layers bring more energy rising up, and we get this beautiful kind of like feedback loop that allows us to sustain the energy of that greater more positive, happier, more productive, more manifestation ability. I don't know how to pronounce that in the way that I'm saying. In a greater ability to manifest what we want, it allows us to be in that state and in that energy. And that is a powerful, powerful thing. So, something really interesting to consider from Spirit. I love that the 3 guides brought that through. So I hope that helps you this week as you kind of ponder where you're going in this energy, especially as we're rounding out 2023 into the new energies of 2024, which I so look forward to talking about closer to the new year. Again, I will definitely be bringing that out before the new year. But what you think really matters and makes a difference. So thank you as always, everyone, so much for joining me. I appreciate all of you, truly. And if this is the first time you're watching me on YouTube, please do subscribe and share if this resonates. If you're listening on any of the audio platforms, please do rate the podcast if you're enjoying it and share it. That really helps me along. And that's all I got. So thank you, everyone. I will see you all next week. Have a beautiful week.